think a new team has arrived in the AFC West, and their name is the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah.
Herbert stops, launches deep. Jalen Guyton, he's got it!
Herbert fires open, making the grab. Mike Williams down the sideline. On the 17-yard line, look out again.
Carr, intercepted!
And we're back with another episode of the Shock Therapy Podcast. Been a couple weeks, man. How have you been? It's been a little while.
I know, enjoying podcast or off season, but yeah, excited. It's exciting time. Got Super Bowl coming up. NBA trade line just coming to an end. It always really enjoy this time of year. Wish we had a team to root for in the Super Bowl this year, but there's always next year, as they say.
Hey, man, I actually am rooting the hell out of the Eagles to win this. One, because I don't want the Chiefs to win. Two, Kaiser White, one of our favorites, is playing in the Super Bowl. I saw an article came out earlier today where they were talking about how Kaiser White wanted to stay and he wasn't really offered a contract chance to come back. He wanted to finish his career with the Chargers. But, man, I am stoked to see Kaiser White go and have an opportunity to get a ring. That's going to be huge.
Yeah, that's a big loss from last year. There's not a lot of negative things you could say about the guy. You know, wears his heart on his sleeve, comes in each and every day looking to get better. He absolutely deserved every cent that he got this offseason. Just a bummer that he's not donning that powder blue, but happy for him that he gets a shot at a ring, which is, every football player's dream.
Yeah, I'm stoked for the guy. I can't wait to see what ends up coming of it. Let's talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. We'll just get into it. Who you taking right now?
I mean, if I got to put money, I'd like the Eagles to win just because you can't really root for a division rival. I just don't know at this point in his career if you're going to put money down. I just don't know how you put that money against Patrick Mahomes. The guy is just so incredibly gifted. There's a lot of talk that, he lost Tyreek Hill. He's not going to be the same. Still led the number one scoring offense in the entire NFL, about 29 points per game. This is going to be a firefight. I see at least each team at least scoring 4 touchdowns. But on the other side, the Eagles defense is absolutely really good at creating pressure, getting after quarterbacks. I think the difference here is the Eagles didn't really face a real threat at the quarterback position the entire playoffs. And not taking anything against them, Patrick Mahomes is a different breed, but this is going to be that strength against strength matchup. You got Patrick Mahomes, who can wiggle out of pressure, is always creating. He has Travis Kelce as the number one mismatch in the NFL right now, going up against a pass rush that is one of 4 teams in the NFL's history that's recorded at least 70 sacks. The record is 72. Eagles are sitting at 70. Just 3 sacks to take that record. And they're absolutely going to be after Patrick Mahomes, but we've seen him weasel his way out of congested pockets all the time, his entire career. So I just think the Chiefs at this point, with Patrick Mahomes on their helm, just have a little more experience. They're a little more, I think, ready for this moment. And I think they were tested a little more than the Eagles were this postseason.
It's crazy that they're so good at getting to the quarterback. Brandon Graham is 34? He's going to be 35 in April. So this is an old man who just really brought his career tenfold back to what it was in his younger years. He was never actually even one of the top pass rushers in the NFL. For a pass rusher to be doing it at that age and helping to lead this group, that's insane. Also, another Charger, Linval Joseph, is on the Eagles as well, rooting for him as well. Fletcher Cox, that's another old guy, right? This team, like, it's insane how good that they've been, especially on the interior of that defensive line. Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Jordan Davis, and Linval Joseph. It made, like, there was no hope for the 49ers to win that game because there was no chance they were going to be able to run that ball. I mean, Jordan Davis and Linval Joseph are both over, 340, 350 pounds. That's insane. You got Josh Sweat, kind of a young guy who's coming into his own. Running with him is Robert Quinn, another old pass rusher. They're really good at getting after the quarterback, and I'm excited to see Mahomes run for his life.
He's going to be running. I mean, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 guys in double-digit sacks. You got Fletcher Cox also there with 7. 8, 9, about 12 guys. 15 total guys on that defense who've recorded at least a sack this year. And that's not even talking about Jordan Davis, who we thought was going to have a big role on this team. The Eagles are good. They're not going away anytime soon. They're going to be a very good team here for a long time. I just think it goes back to that old adage, you need to learn how to lose before you can win. And I just think Patrick Mahomes' 3rd Super Bowl appearance, I think he's going to pull this out. I think we're going to see that Leo magic that we saw a couple years ago when he was like completely horizontal and just chucking it downfield. I think you're going to see some magical plays from Mahomes, but Eagles are going to keep it interesting for sure. I think this is going to be a fantastic game.
I mean, and let's not discredit the Chiefs' offensive line. Like, if there's an offensive line in the NFL that's able to kind of keep up with this pass rush, Orlando Brown, Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, those 4 guys are really, really good football players. So, and then you take into account that they've got Travis Kelce, who's really a really good two-way. He can beat you through the air. He can get after you on the ground. They actually match up really well, and I think that's what's going to make this fun for sure. One of the things I was actually looking at from the last time the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl in 2020 to this year, it's a completely different offense. The only guys that are holdovers from the last Super Bowl is Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andrew Wiley, and the rest of the team is completely different. One more player, McCole Hardman. McCole Hardman's on IR, so he's not even going to be playing this game. So Juju Smith-Schuster, Marcus, like, they completely overturned the entire offensive side of the ball. Like, almost nobody from that previous Super Bowl team's on this team.
Yeah, no, it's going to be such an interesting game. I think another thing to take in consideration, and I didn't look too in depth in this, but three Eagles offensive linemen popped up on that injury report. Landon Dickerson has been a full participant this week, but you do have Lane Johnson and Cam Jurgens, who are crucial to the Eagles' success. They're both popping up limited, so it'll be interesting to see what percentage those guys are at, because the Chiefs don't have a lights out defense, but you can't count
they're even
guys
going to
out
play at all. I totally get that. Yeah.
And I mean, Frank
You're
Clark
freezing a little bit, so I'm going to take it over a little bit and talk because you're kind of going in and out. One of my thoughts is Jalen Hurts up for the task. Like, the last time he played in a really, really big game like this in college, he got pulled for Tua Tagovailoa. He's not been shy to go and play the big game, right? But like national championship, Super Bowl, how crazy would it be to see Gardner Minshew get take over at halftime and win the game? That'd be crazy. And I really like, a lot of the pieces that have on offense, especially at the skill position. AJ Brown, that trade was monumental to their success over the offseason last year. Devontae Smith in his second year playing lights out, really, really good football player, only in his second year. Quez Watkins, Dallas Goedert is probably like a top 5 tight end today. I really, really like the Eagles' ability to hurt you. Jalen Hurts does it with his legs. He's able to keep the the chains moving, extend plays quite a bit. It's going to be a fun game to watch because on paper, the Eagles are so much better defensively, but on, the flip side of that, the Chiefs have a lot of weapons, and it kind of goes back to the other side as well. So the Eagles skill position players are also really, really good. And I don't necessarily know if the Chiefs D is good. Don't get me wrong, Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, Justin Reed, and Juan Thorhill make a pretty decent four quadruple, whatever you want to call them. But then you got Josh Williams and Jalen Watson kind of backing them up, kind of unknown guys that nobody really knows much about. A lot of rookies. Trent McDuffie's a starter. George Karlaftis is a starter. The young players like Sneed, like Bolton, like Willie Gay. It's going to be a fun matchup to watch, but this is a very, very young defense for the Chiefs. I'm interested to see, how does that affect their ability to play defense and, slow down this really high-powered Eagles offense.
Yeah, you're going to have to get after Jalen Hurts, a young quarterback who you saw in college wasn't living up to the expectation of that big game hype. The NFL, the Super Bowl, it's a different type of atmosphere. It's a different type of experience. Now, the Eagles have been incredible when Jalen Hurts has been 100% healthy and ready to go. They've lost one game with Jalen Hurts starting this season. That includes the playoffs. I think something also to take in consideration is in a contested game, especially in the Super Bowl, it comes down to those heroics from that quarterback position. Jalen Hurts has orchestrated 2 game-winning drives this season. Patrick Mahomes seems like he does it on at least 3-4 times every year. He had 4 game-winning drives this season. That's not really including the playoffs. But I think it's going to come down to a 2-minute drill. And if that is the case, Eagles better hope it's in Jalen Hurts' hands and not Patrick Mahomes, because he's shown that he really only needs about 17 seconds to hurt you.
Yeah, he really does. He's done it to us a couple times. Let me get your final score prediction. You think that this is going to be a high-scoring game? Who's going to win, and what's the score going to be? And who's going to be the Super Bowl MVP? Because that's also always so important, so exciting to watch.
Yeah, I think it is going to be a high-scoring game. I think each offense scores at 4 touchdowns. I think the difference is going to be some crucial turnovers for the Chiefs, and I think it's going to be, 35-28 Chiefs, and they're going to give it to the quarterback, one of the best that we've ever seen play. I'm a Charger fan, right? We're lit up in the Charger colors, but I seen this guy. We play him 2 times a year. I just don't see the Eagles being able to do enough to slow that guy down. And I think Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are going to take this one.
Who's going to be the Super Bowl MVP?
Mahomes. He's just too incredible. I love Travis Kelce, but it seems at this point it's the MVP is really just. I love that they gave it to Cooper Kupp last year. I just don't see Travis Kelce is amazing. I just don't see him overshadowing Patrick Mahomes the same way Cooper Kupp did to Matt Stafford last year.
I want to see the Eagles win this. I think it's going to be a tight game. Something's going to come down to a field goal end of the game. I want to see a defensive player get Super Bowl MVP. I thought it was awesome when Von Miller did it. And I want to see Kaiser White pull it out. I want to see Kaiser White do something crazy, like get 2 interceptions, return 1 for a touchdown, and get like a sack and a forced fumble. He does all of those things, creates some turnovers on his own. There's no way that he doesn't get Super Bowl MVP. If it's going to go to an offensive player, I really think A.J. Brown is able to do some pretty amazing things. Every year, it seems like in the Super Bowl, there's always that one play that is just like the helmet catch, the Julian Edelman bounced off and ends up catching it and cradling it. The Super Bowl always brings out the best, and nobody comes down with contested catches like A.J. Brown. So if it's going to go to an offensive player, I don't really think that it's going to be Jalen Hurts. throwing for 220 yards because he's not a guy who really puts up a lot of stats in terms of going and throwing the ball. He does some pretty amazing things with extending plays, but it's going to be if I had to guess, it's going to be like AJ Brown, doing a helmet catch type of scenario because every Super Bowl it happens.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun. I'm excited. What are you? I don't have any plans yet. I just got back from vacation yesterday. But what are you gonna do for the big game?
So tomorrow I'm actually driving out to Arizona to go to the Super Bowl. Now I'm not going to the Super Bowl.
Nice.
That would be dope. Let me hold your horses. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm driving out to Arizona tomorrow. On Saturday, they have like the Super Bowl experience. So I'm going to walk around kind of the Super Bowl experience. They do a bunch of cool stuff that I didn't get to do last year because I didn't go. But I'm taking my little brother. We're going to walk around. It's supposed to be like kind of like a cool event. If you ever get a chance to like do something like that, I highly recommend you do that because you'll meet players. You'll get to see the Lombardi Trophy up close. I'm thinking about putting some content together and putting it on YouTube. That might be kind of cool. And then I'm going to be driving back down on Saturday from Arizona to my house. On Sunday, we're going to be going over to my neighbor's house across the street, kind of a cool young couple. They're having like a little party and everybody's bringing some sort of appetizer. So I make these, it's going to sound gross, but it's phenomenal. So I make these little weenies, what are they called? Like pigs in a blanket?
Yeah. What are they called? Like Vivina?
No, not Vienna sausages. Those are disgusting.
Those are gross.
Little Smokies.
Okay.
So you take Little Smokies, you put it in a crock pot, you get grape jelly. You put the grape jelly in the crock pot and you get brown sugar and you let it cook for like 4 hours. And let me tell you, bro, it is so good. I make this every year for Christmas. It's kind of like my Christmas dessert, but it's so good because it gets all, I don't know, it's delicious. And it sounds gross, grape jelly disgusting. And Little Smokies, but it's so good. Right. And so I'm going to be making that and we're going to watch the Super Bowl across the street.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds like a fun time. That's a lot of driving, but if you're up for it, it sounds like
yeah, it's a lot of driving, but I didn't get to go last year. I don't want to go to Vegas and have to go all the way to Vegas and Super Bowl next year. And then who knows when it's going to be back on the East Coast. So it's 4 years back to back on the West Coast. It's going to, last year was SoFi, this year's Arizona. Next year it's going to be in not Oakland, Vegas. And then it's supposed to be going away for a while. It's going to go to like Minnesota.
It needs to go somewhere cold. Like we need to have a potential for a snowy Super Bowl.
Buffalo. I want to see a Buffalo Super Bowl. That'd be so much fun.
That'd be fun, and I mean it's a fun, very energetic crowd out there. So that'd be cool. There's just something about football in February with the snow going, a low scoring game where there's a bunch of fumbles. I don't know. There's something about it that intrigues me. So would be interested to see it get back to that type of environment.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe one day I'll get to go to a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
it's on the bucket list.
Maybe one day we'll watch this Charger team make a run because that would be super interesting. I mean, exciting. That's the dream as a fan. And I mean, what are your thoughts on our new offensive coordinator? Do you think he has what it takes to turn this offense into the next level?
Everybody, it seemed like a lot of people were tossed like, oh yeah, Kellen Moore had like a top 5 offense in 3 or 4 seasons. And then there's other people that are, I don't know, they just don't like Dallas, like what it is, but he's a winner. Like he had so much success with Cooper Rush at quarterback, with the year that Dak Prescott got injured and they were still winning games. They still finished in like mid of the pack, but I mean, in terms of like what that offense should have looked like with a backup quarterback the year he was injured, like the whole year, and up to that point, like Dak Prescott had like 2 500-yard games back to back before he broke his ankle. And go ahead.
I'm just listen to how crazy that is. Dak Prescott throwing for 500 yards with his, missing throws, his what is it called? Not ability, but I guess lack of ability. His susceptibleness to throwing interceptions, and the fact that he had that. I think Dak is good. He's not great. I am so excited to see Moore's taking all of that success from Dallas and implementing here in Los Angeles with what I think is a significantly better cast of skill players.
I do too. And the other thing you got to take into account, like, he schemes his offense around the players that he has.
Yes.
This year, he lost almost every receiver. Remember preseason when they were talking about it only being CeeDee Lamb and like a bunch of these, no names?
No names.
Right? And then what ends up happening is they have this outstanding run offense. Like, they were pounding the ball. Tony Pollard went for over 1,000. Ezekiel Elliott went for over 800. And they were putting up points. They still were at the top of the league in total points this season, number 2 in total points per game.
Well, Chiefs were number 1.
It was like number 2 or number 4.
Eagles
I don't have the
3.
stats.
But yeah, I think top 5 for sure. Top 5 in everything since he's entered the league into that role. I'm so excited, and he's saying, in my opinion, everything right in these years. He's not committing to any scheme, and he's said it multiple times. He's going to wait for this roster to develop. He's going to wait for time to, talk with Mike Williams, Keenan Allen's, whoever we come out, enter the year with at tight end. Talk to Justin Herbert, and he's going to. There's going to be Dallas types. There's going to be stuff he's bringing from Dallas, but it's not. If it works for Dallas, he's not going to just insert it here like Lombardi wanted to do with taking everything he had success with in New Orleans and implementing it here when we just don't have the personnel. And so that's like the most refreshing thing about the whole offensive coordinator revamp is that he is dead set on putting his players in the best position to be successful, which I think is similar to what Staley is doing on that defensive side of the ball. You really saw it kind of shine that second half of the year. Couldn't really get it done in the playoffs, but I think a lot of that had more to do with the lack of offensive synergy than it did the defense underperforming. I mean, I know
they won a playoff game. And here's the other thing: like your job is to get to the playoffs because anything can happen in the playoffs.
Anything
right?
can happen. Yeah,
anything can happen to the playoffs.
Like blowing a 31-point lead.
They win games. They had to play the Eagles twice a year. They played them a third time and ended up losing. Can he get you there? He could definitely get you there. He's proven it time and time again. One of the things that I think is like a knock against him, right, is his offense isn't dynamic, right? But it works, right? And that's all I really care about is does it work? He's not doing a whole lot of like trickery, right? Like he'll run some jet sweeps and stuff like that. But in terms of like motioning guys across the formation, creating a lot of misdirection and stuff, he's not like that. He's like, he lets you know how he's going to beat you and then he beats you. And that's fine if that works, right? A lot of teams have a lot of success doing that. The Titans did it for years. Everybody knew exactly what was happening with the Titans run game. Like you don't have to, you can beat a team telling them what you're going to do and just going out and doing it. And that's what he's proven time and time again. They've done that over and over again. And it's not like Zeke had a bad year, right? Like he still had 800 yards as he was splitting carries. They had 2 players go for over 1,800 yards.
Yeah, I understand that. I think that's the biggest knock on Moore is that lack of explosiveness. But I really wonder how much that is, Jerry Jones being the overbearing owner that he is, and then just Mike McCarthy refusing to be different. It's just stuck in his old ways, which has shown that it doesn't really work without Aaron Rodgers at the helm. And it'd be interesting to see if that still that lack just that stagnant type of offense rolls over, especially because you've heard Staley say he wants to apply pressure on offenses through personnel groupings, which I think Kellen Moore does a great job of. I love his 2-back sets. I love his 3 tight end
Tight
sets.
ends, yeah.
He has the personnel groupings down. The other way Staley wants to pressure off our defenses is pace of play and motion, and all of that together will lead to explosive play. So I wonder if that, just lack of explosiveness might not change when, you have guys like Keenan Allen and who is great in motion, who really he really puts a lot of pressure just putting Keenan Allen in motion because he is such a great route runner. He's so great at creating separation. You got a guy like Austin Eckler who can play receiver, can run the ball out of the backfield effectively, can catch the ball out of the backfield effectively. So I think with those type of guys, and then you got Donald Parham, who I think is a walking mismatch. He was injured this year. It'll be interesting to how he incorporates all 3 of those guys and their skills to put pressure on defenses like Staley is looking to do this season.
Now, I will say, and this is going to break Charger fans' hearts, but like he still runs the same similar kind of offense to Joe Lombardi. He really does, because it's a lot of, sticks concepts, lulling the defense to sleep, and then taking shot plays out of it. But the thing that Moore has been able to do that Joe Lombardi never could is establish a run game. So you're establishing a run game, you're bringing the defense in, you're running those stick concepts, throwing things out into the flats, running jet sweeps, you're doing all of that. You're bringing the defense in, and then that opens up those shot plays. It's not like the Cowboys were not, pushing the ball down the field. They weren't explosive, because they were. CeeDee Lamb was super explosive last season.
He's a great young player.
And then they go ahead.
No, I finish whatever you're saying.
What's the name of the other Cowboys wide receiver who was injured for the start of the year?
Gallup.
So as well. So like they're able to take shots, but they do it methodically by, running certain plays to set up those shot plays. But when you don't have a run game, right? When the sticks concepts are not working, right? That's when you run into issues. And from everything we've seen with Kellen Moore, he was able to effectively establish that run game. This is going to be a great offense for Isaiah Spiller, because he's that guy that's going to be pounding the ball in between. Joshua Kelly runs that. But the thing that I did not see out of the offense last season was the offensive line getting after it, right? Yeah. Being effective in the run game, getting some push. They ran a lot of outside stretch zone plays. I rarely saw our guards get out into the second level, right? Which hurts the overall offense at picking up chunk plays. We were not getting out there. We were running towards zones. We were blocking towards zones, but we were never getting up to the second level. When you're not getting to the second level, you're not creating those consistent 5, 6, 7 yard rushing attempts, right? And without the ability to do that, that's a huge miss for the Chargers.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple interesting things that you pointed out. First, that offensive line for the Chargers not being as good as it was last year. A big part of that was losing Rashawn Slater so early in the season. Another big part of that was Matt Filer just completely falling off the face of earth as a competent guard in this league. And so I think he's gone. I think his tenure as a Charger is probably over after this atrocious season we just seen from. They're getting Slater back healthy. That's going to be tremendous asset. You've seen this emergence of Jamari Sawyer, which is really going to be good for that run game. You also saw really significant regression from Trey McKitty, who it was a big part of our offensive success running the football a couple seasons ago. Also, I think Donald Parham being injured, I think that's an underrated part of his game that we didn't really see last year. Not taking anything away from Gerald Everett. He's just not the blocker that those two guys are. But really excited for the ability or the opportunity to see Kellen Moore get this run game going, because I think it's just going to alleviate so much pressure off of Justin Herbert's shoulders, who we were literally just riding all year last season. I mean, only 23 points a game, middle of the pack in the league, but Herbert had the third most throwing yards per
Passing
game.
attempts.
Yeah, 200. Well, and nearly 270 yards a game, the third most out of any quarterback in the league. When you compare that to our running backs, who only averaged 90 yards on the ground, that's 30th, the third worst in the league. And so it'll be interesting when you look at the design play calls. 68% of the Chargers plays last year were passes. That's the second highest rate in the NFL. Then you look at the Cowboys, who ran at about 54.5%. That is exactly what you want. Right in the middle, 55% passing, 45% running, and you're running it effectively. They were the sixth lowest throwing team in the league. I think that's going to kind of go up a little bit this year when you have an arm like Herbert, but just the commitment and the ability of establishing that run is going to be tremendous for this entire offense. It's going to alleviate pressure from the defense and the special teams units when we are able to score more than 23 points per game. There's no reason why you have those offensive weapons that we're talking about. You have a generational talent like Herbert, and you're scoring 23 points a game. That's just can't happen, especially if we have, want to live up to the expectations that the roster talent suggests that we could.
I get you. I totally get you. And I agree. Yeah, I totally get you. So let's talk about our script next season with Kellen Moore. What do you think the NFL is writing right now for, let's just start with our offseason. What's going to be the big offseason shakeup in our script?
Because
that seems to be a hot topic for everybody right now.
Loves the scripts. Everyone loves the script. I don't know. I think the big script, and this is step one, Chargers front office gets creative and fixes the cap issue without getting worse. And so without getting worse, I mean, Keenan Allen's not going anywhere. I know there's a lot of talk about he's a big cap hit for us. There's a reason they never gave Mike Williams that extension without some type of plan in place. And I think there's some gears turning behind the scenes that we as fans and media personnel are not taking into account. There's no way you extend Mike Williams with this window of Justin Herbert and this win now mentality where this roster is, going out and signing Khalil Mack, JC Jackson, all those guys. You're not doing that without Keenan Allen, one of two remaining San Diego Chargers. There's no way that we build this future Super Bowl contender without him on the roster. And I know he's getting old. He still can play when he's healthy. And it's kind of something that we've seen consistently over his career. He deals with these injuries and then he comes back and he has these MVP type of seasons. I'm expecting that from Keenan Allen next year, especially if he gets some help from the offensive line and the rest of the skill players who are coming along. So that's the first one. I don't know how they're going to do it because they're going to need to get super, super creative. But we see teams get out of these cap situations before. And they're going to have to pull out all the stops or all the, they're going to have to make some magic happen, but I'm expecting it to happen. And that's the first thing I need to see fall into line for us.
I just don't see it happening, dude. I feel like
it happen.
I feel like if the NFL is writing a script, they're sending Keenan Allen elsewhere.
Yeah, they would love that.
It's going to be a huge storyline that we need to watch. Now, Allen has said that he wants to stay a Charger. He wants to own records. He wants to beat out Charlie Joyner, to be on second on the all-time receiving list behind Antonio Gates. Chasing Antonio Gates is going to take him a long time. Long time. And I think that it hurts him being injured last year for as long as he was. It hurts him, the 2 or 3 year kind of injury plagued seasons he had in his, second to the third or fourth year.
Yeah.
It hurts him, right? But at the same time, we can't restructure and push his cap forward because next year he's due $26 million, not $20 million. So you can't push more into the future, especially knowing that you're going to have so much dead cap. I think what Tom Telesco needs to do, if he's not going to release him and he's not going to trade him away, is I think he has to offer him a new contract. And
Sure.
if Keenan Allen really wants to retire a Charger all-time great, second in all-time in receiving yards, which he has the opportunity to do, you provide him some financial stability by giving him a multi-year contract that allows him to retire as a Charger. You can do it a couple different ways. You can either offer him another contract at $20 million a year over 4 years, lower his cap hit in the short term, give him like a good 2-year financial stability, let his roots get in a little bit thicker, or you see if he's willing to take a pay cut. He's made all this money already, right? If he's willing to take a pay cut in the short term, and play out his contract and let him retire as a Charger, let him continue to go out playing under Phillip Rivers and Justin Herbert his entire career, which, I mean, how many wide receivers get the opportunity to do that? Look at Calvin Johnson spending his entire career with, Matt Stafford when Matt Stafford was not Matt Stafford today, right? How many of these great wide receivers ended up playing for like horrible? Andre Johnson, another guy who was stuck with terrible. Allen has had luckily the ability to play under the same 2 quarterbacks his entire career. So I think that's the best case scenario is you offer him a new contract, lower his cap hit, and see if he's willing to accept it. Otherwise, you let him know, like, we can't have you at this price tag. We can't push any of your money forward because we will have to cut you next season. You can't play under the current contract, and I think that's the most likely scenario if you're not going to cut him.
Yeah, no, I like it, and it all kind of puts it into Keenan Allen. It's all in Keenan Allen's hands. It really kind of depends on how much is what he's saying factual, and then how much does he actually believe what he's saying. As a fan of his, as a fan of this team, I'd like to believe him, and I'd love to get that contract restructured because Herbert is due for a record-breaking contract here soon, and I would like that to happen sooner rather than later because you got guys like Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, all these young, great quarterbacks due for new contracts, and it's just the kind of it's just the nature of the sport. It's nature of sports in general that every new contract is going to be a record breaker, especially when you're talking about talents like those guys I just mentioned. The sooner we get that done for Justin Herbert, because he's staying. There's no way you let a guy like that leave. It's just a matter about when, and if the sooner you can do that, the lower that's the lower price tag that's going to be because it just guys just leapfrog each other's contracts. So you don't want to be in the end of that line.
And then actually, and I'm glad you brought up Justin Herbert's contract. I wrote an article on our website that gave you an inside look of what Justin Herbert's contract could look like. And there's no reason for Justin Herbert not to sign a long-term contract with the Chargers. He can't play any closer to home, right? Where's he going to go? Seattle? Is he going to go to, I mean, he's still the same plane ride away, right? He has the biggest market he's ever going to be in outside of maybe New York. Being in Los Angeles is super good for his brand. And I know he's not a big brandy type of guy, but it's money, right? And so he's going to make a lot more money staying in California. You can talk all you want about the income tax being super high for whatever it is, but he's on the West Coast and he's as close to home as he possibly can be. The flight difference from San Francisco or Seattle to Eugene, Oregon versus Los Angeles, minimal, right? You're talking about an extra 45 minutes on an airplane if he so chooses. He has no reason not to sign a 10-year contract. One of the biggest draws for any quarterback, any team, anywhere, is having a say-so in your coaching staff, in the hirings, and even personnel, right? He's got full reign to do whatever he wants. This is a big issue with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers saying he had no intel on who they were going to hire. He wasn't in a decision-making process. Justin Herbert, anything that he wants, he can go out and get. Awesome for him. He's got so much opportunity here. And I think it's best for the team and for him to go and sign a 10-year contract. Only 6 players in the history of the National Football League have ever signed 10-year plus contracts. Donovan McNabb, Brett Favre, I think it was not Randall Cunningham, Dante Culpepper, Michael Vick, Patrick Mahomes, and there's probably one more that I'm missing, right? Only one has been done since 2010. So he's in an elite category. He's going to average at least $50 million a year. The more guarantees, the less average annual salary. If you are going to offer him $45 million a year at 100% salary, why would you not take that over $55 million with only 65% of it guaranteed? And NFL contracts are starting to move into more and more guarantees. He has no reason not to sign a 10-year contract with the Chargers. He's going to make a shitload of money. I don't typically cuss on the podcast, but there's no other way to say that. He's going to make a boatload of money, and he's going to have whatever say-so he wants. If he wants to go and recruit a specific player, the Chargers are going to go out and try to attempt to go and sign that guy. The longer it is, the more ability that the Chargers have to move money into future years and be able to win now. Our window is wide open. It looks like our salary cap is terrible. We're in minus 20 million, but we have so much ability to move cap into the future. We're still going to be very active in free agency. I'm on a real high horse right now. We are going to have a very, very active free agency because we're going to clear a ton of cap space. We're going to restructure Joey Bosa. We're going to restructure J.C. Jackson. We're going to restructure potentially Khalil Mack. Talk about Keenan Allen, saving $15 million against the cap. We could also offer him a new contract, right? There's a ton of opportunity for us to clear cap space and have 20 to 30 million once we go into free agency March 15th.
Yeah, no, and you see it happen every year, and you're just like, oh yeah, this team's in cap trouble, and all of a sudden, they restructured 3 huge deals. They don't get better, they don't get worse. They actually save some money and add to that team. The window to win is now, and Justin Herbert is going to play his entire career as a Los Angeles Charger. It's going to happen. We're talking about scripts. This is his own manifest destiny. This is a guy who 7 years old, 8 years old, before the Chargers were even thinking about moving, wrote that he is going to play as the quarterback of the Los Angeles Chargers. He wrote his own script. It's going to happen. Make it happen, Telesco. I'm excited because you got me motivated, and we have nobody to root for really on Sunday. So that's what I'm rooting for. Game scripts out the window. It's time for the Chargers to compete, and I couldn't be more excited for what's on the horizon for this team.
And if the script is real, how does Justin Herbert not make an MVP at some point in his career?
If the script is real, how does the guy who led the league? Yeah, now I'm heated. If the script is real, how does the guy who leads the league in touchdowns back-to-back years at 18 touchdowns a game for 2 seasons not get into the Pro Bowl? Come on. The Pro Bowl's a joke. I'm boycotting the Pro Bowl until Austin Eckler gets in because he deserves it. And he's probably going to be voted in as an All-Pro because he was absolutely amazing. 18 touchdowns, 2 years. Get out of here.
And nobody is going to be able to make him have that type of season like Kellen Moore. There's so much good to talk about right now. I know the season's over. I know the Chargers not in the Super Bowl.
Excited.
But the future is actually bright. You just take the blinders off and not look at the salary cap being under 20 million, right? Like, if you take out that, we got rid of Joe Lombardi. That was the biggest issue on the offensive side of the ball. Injuries aside, that was the biggest issue, was Joe Lombardi's play calling, his inability to establish the run. And Austin Eckler is going to go for over 1,000 yards for the first time in his career next season. That's in the script. I read it. I saw it. I wrote it myself. I put it in there. I slipped it in without anybody knowing. Austin Eckler goes for over 1,000. That is going to happen. He's going to get more opportunity as a true running back. It's not going to take away from the fact that he's going to still be used as a threat as a wide receiver. By the way, also going for over 1,000 yards receiving last year, didn't he?
2 years ago,
What were we
he
talking about?
how Austin Eckler is amazing. Also, if we're gonna
Oh,
continue,
100 catches. It was 100 catches, not
oh
1,000 yards.
yeah, no, he's great, and I think this is the time of year where draft crushes come out, and Charger fans love that running back from Texas. We're
Bijan Robinson.
He's not coming. You have a really, really good dynamic backfield right now, especially if Spiller can recover from those injuries and continue to take strides. That 1-2 punch right now of Eckler and Josh Kelly, that's solid. You got another guy in Spiller up and coming who you drafted for a reason. This guy can run the rock. He was just a little banged up, and Staley takes his time with his rookies, and so.
And he was buried in the depth chart. You had Sony Michel there as well. Joshua Kelly was looking good for bits and pieces there. Isaiah Spiller is going to have that year next year. He's going to get a lot more opportunities. Only 20 years old last year. He's going to be 21. I mean, if anything, you're just trying to develop his skill set. So if he has, like, one of the issues that might have hurt Joshua Kelly in his rookie season was he was thrust into a role way too early. And you've already talked about his confidence. He was constantly talking. He was thinking too much, his confidence. But his first 2 games, he was running the ball really, really hard. He had the one fumble, and then he had another one right after that, and it totally yacked him out of his zone.
Yeah, I'm excited. I really like the guy. I mean, I've been high on him his entire career. I thought he kind of got unfairly thrusted into a bigger role than he was ready for. But now you got so much. You got a lot of guys who can carry the ball for you, who deserve 10, 15 touches, and that's a good position to be in, especially when you got a guy coming over in Kellen Moore who really just scheme wise created Tony Pollard, who's on nobody's radar, right? An undrafted guy, in most like fantasy leagues, out touching and outperforming Zeke, who goes consistently in the first round in fantasy drafts. Bring that over and have just a little bit of that effect on Josh Kelly and Isaiah Spiller, and we're going to be dynamic. I said this probably last year, but I'm more excited because we got a capable guy at the coordinator position, and I'm excited, man.
And then just kind of touching on some final things, Kellen Moore more than likely is going to be bringing over some free agents from the Cowboys. One of those guys is Tony Pollard, who just came off a pretty bad knee injury. Yeah. You also have Cooper Rush. The Chargers don't have a backup quarterback right now. Who knows the system? That makes a lot of sense. Dalton Schultz. There's been talk that Gerald Everett's going to be a cut candidate. Who knows if Dalton Schultz is on his way over? They also have some offensive linemen from over there. Somebody's coming over from the Cowboys. It's going to happen. I don't know who it's going to be. Pollard's probably going to be a little too expensive. So is Dalton Schultz. But you might be able to get a couple guys in here. Sewell, what was his name? Noah Brown is a free agent. There's some guys that could come over from the Cowboys that could help make this team better. The last thing I want to talk about, the website. There's a ton of articles right now. I just dropped 2 articles about impending offensive and defensive free agents. We're going to be talking about the NFL draft here really soon. If you want to get a chance, Zach, to pull up the outro if you don't already have that ready. But there's a lot going on with Shock Therapy, and I cannot wait to get in some draft content, talk about some free agents that the Chargers could target. There's a lot of football to talk about. Yu Darvish was just signed to a 6-year deal by the Padres. Padres got better this year than they were last year. And that is scary because they almost made it all the way. So baseball is right around the corner. The Padres just had like a
fan fest,
and that was cool. I didn't get to go, but I saw pictures.
Yeah, the pictures, the videos coming out of Petco, absolutely electric. You're getting Tatis back in this lineup. I really think that Yu Darvish extension is really going to free up some money for them to extend Manny Machado and Juan Soto. It really looks like the Padres have no interest in being a one and done type of team. They look like they're building a core, and it's a strong core. I'm excited. Keep tuning in to Shock Therapy each and every week. Yes, it is the off season, but we're going to be rolling out some great content for you. Check out that website. Tyler's been doing a great job. I know his laptop's in the shop, but also be on the lookout for that Shock Therapy magazine, which is just around the corner to be released. And
we'll get the correct intro next time too.
Did I not get the right intro?
No, the intro got changed, but it's not on this one because we're on a different platform. But thank you guys so much for listening. I gotta go. We'll talk to you guys later.
We're out.
Bye. All right, I'll talk to you later, Zach. I gotta go.
Cool. You need anything from me? I don't really know where to put this.
Can you upload this?
Yeah, just to YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. All right. See ya.